Hey everyone, it's Kong again with another episode of Should You Summon. As always, I'm going to be presenting high-level overviews to help you decide whether this banner is worth your hard-earned vouchers and crystals. This week we've got a great raid-up banner featuring the Ironblood Commander and Lucretia. This banner will run from October 20th till November 2nd, and as a raid-up banner, you have a 40% chance to get each on-banner character, with the remaining 20% reserved for any other hero in the regular summoning pool. First up, we've got the Ironblood Commander. The Act 3 version of Florentia is a strong supportive DPS. After she acts, she can buff members of your team as long as they're lined up in specific formations. Her offensive boost, cast on herself and 2 diagonal allies, increases soldier attack and mobility depending on the unit's base mobility. The defensive boost, cast on 3 allies in a straight line, increases soldiers' defensive stats and makes it so the affected units can't be displaced. Her 3-cost skill is a magical ranged attack that gives the target's soldiers minus 80% healing, permanently. In her offensive formation, she attacks first and dispels 5 buffs. In her defensive formation, she can move 3 spaces after combat. She has a pretty good clutch of other skills too, including another ranged attack that ignores a chunk of enemy defense and magic defense when she's in offensive stance, or does post-battle team healing in defensive stance. She also has an active skill that triggers a protective aura and lets her act again, and she has mass attack. She's a member of Empire's Honor, buffed by Bernhardt, Leon, Lance, and Rozalia, Strategic Masters, buffed by Ultimuller and Lanford, and Yales Legends, buffed by Landius and Sigma. For bonds, she unlocks the attack bonds for Lostum and the upcoming new character, the Girl in the Shell, and the defensive bond for Caroline. She needs Hilda for her own defensive bond and Florentia for her attack bond. For content, in PvE she's on faction for Phoenix and Valkyrie in the Eternal Temple and Needhog in Ancient Beckoning, and she's also currently one of the top leaderboarding options against Sleipnir in Ancient Beckoning. She's also been useful in a number of the Ragnarok of the Realms challenge battles, so that's an interesting new little PvE piece that makes a character worth summoning. On the PvP side, she brings a lot to the table. In addition to just being a solid offensive first strike buff stripping unit, she can also boost the mobility of multiple allies, which is very threatening. In a more defensive team composition, she can shore up your turtle fortifications even further with her defensive stance. Up next we have Lucretia. Lucretia is a long-range mage and a serious contender for the best character in the game. She has a well-rounded single-target and AoE kit, a revive, a teleport, and cooldown support. She's a beast. She's a member of Empire's Honor, buffed by Bernhardt, Leon, Lance, and Rozalia, Langrisser Reincarnation, buffed by Ares and Hilda, and Princess Alliance, buffed by Luna, Shelfaniel, and Christiane. For bonds, she unlocks the attack bond for Emperor Autocrato IV, and for her own bonds, she needs Licorice for her defensive bond and Autocrato for her attack bond. For content, she's a member of the top-scoring teams against Needhog and Sleipnir in Ancient Beckoning, and she's also been very useful in magical DPS rushdowns for several Ragnarok of the Realms battles. She's also a stalwart member of meta Apex Arena boxes for the foreseeable future, still. Alright, so that brings us to the notes for Noobs, and this is going to be a slightly complicated notes for Noobs this week, so here are the main points. This banner is very good, but it's a raid up, so you're not guaranteed to get one of these characters. But if you do get an on-banner character, they're both really good. But, the Gintama crossover is coming up in 2 weeks. Those characters are not only extremely limited, which is important to collectors and fans, but also very strong and useful, especially in PvP, but in some PvE content as well. So summoning too much this week could make it so you can't get the Gintama characters, and that is the main danger of recommending summoning on this, even though it's a good week to summon. So this is one of those times where you pretty much have to decide why you play the game, what your goals are, and make that decision for yourself. If absolutely pressed for advice, I can only say what I would do in this situation, but that's based on my own preferences and goals for the game. I would try to summon one SSR from the IBC and Lucretia banner, hoping to get one cheap, like first 20-30 summons, But even if it ended up being a disappointing off-banner, I would stop there. I wouldn't keep chasing one of those units. Then I'd save the rest for Gintama. As important as Lucretia is, she will come back, and she's always in the off-banner pool. But the Gintama characters won't come back for years. Again, that's just me. I'll leave it at that. Let's leave it at that. Thank you so much everybody for watching. I wish you all the best of luck whatever you decide, and I'll catch you in the next Should You Summon. Extra special thanks of course to our Langrisser tier channel members for generously continuing to support the channel directly. Shout out to Levitt, Derek, Kate Soon, Jared Portela, Jerome Meyer, Shara Ilimerius, and Harambe. Thanks again everyone.